Losing insane amounts of fat in a short time period is something you can do, and you can do it without the help of pharmaceuticals like those semaglutides like Ozempic or Mounjaro. You can do it without surgery like gastric bypass, lipo, or those bariatric procedures, and you can do it with exercise and diet alone. So I'm going to take you through start to finish a 90-day extreme fat loss transformation. Now, if this is your first time seeing or hearing me, I'm Coach Antoine, and I specialize in helping men and women over the age of 40 get fat loss transformations. And as we all know, as you get older, fat loss becomes a lot more difficult. So every day I'm dealing with a population of people who tend to have the most difficulty losing fat, and I help them get success. And so far I've coached a little over 1,000 people. And this is the same extreme transformation plan I'm currently running on myself. Just to give you some ideas of the results that can happen, I started at 210 pounds. This was 7 weeks ago, and today I'm 191 pounds. So this is almost 20 pounds lost in less than 2 months. Now there is a caveat. This extreme fat loss plan is something I can only recommend to 2 types of people. So the first type is that you're like myself, where you purposely had gained weight. Maybe you were bulking up for 6 months to a year, so now your body fat percentage is higher than it typically would be, and now you want to bring it back down. Or if you were somebody who has to be a certain weight or look a certain way on a specific day that matters a lot to you. So what I'm talking about is your wedding day, maybe a milestone birthday like you're turning 50, or perhaps something like a photo shoot that matters a lot. Now, if you fit into either one of those camps and you do not have serious health conditions, this might be an option for you. But of course, always talk to your doctor first before running any diet or exercise program, especially one you found from a coach who is not your coach on the internet. Now here's the plan. Phase 1 I call the kickstarter, and we really want to make an impact losing weight rapidly. Now phase 1 can last anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. Now first you're going to figure out your maintenance calories. Now your maintenance calories are the amount of calories you need to eat daily to maintain your current weight. Now the way I recommend you do that is to track your calories for an entire week. You're going to get the average, and then that average number is going to be what your maintenance calories are. Now a quicker way to do it is to use an online calculator, but those methods will not be as accurate as you working out the calories yourself. Now that we have your maintenance calories figured out, we have to create a calorie deficit, and we are not going to be shooting for a 500 calorie deficit per day. We want rapid results in phase 1. So you're going to be aiming for a 1,000 to 1,500 calorie deficit. But how do we get there? The first and most important place is going to be with your food. So if your aim is a 1,500 calorie deficit, what I recommend you do is subtract 1,000 calories from your food. Once you've done that, you're going to then find out what your daily protein is going to be. What I want you doing is taking your lean body mass. So if you have one of those special scales, it will tell you what it is. And if you don't know your lean body mass, you can take your goal weight. Now what you're going to do is take either your lean body mass or your goal weight, and you're going to multiply that by 0.8. That's the amount of protein you need to get daily. So what you're going to do next is get your calorie tracker, and you are going to enter in all the proteins you need to eat over the course of a day to hit that minimum protein target. Now you do have the option to go higher, but at minimum you want to figure out how much you need to eat to hit whatever that number is. And then the remainder of your calories, you're going to backfill them with things that are nutrient dense. And if your dietary fats are super low, like let's say all you were getting are super lean meat, like maybe tilapia, so your dietary fat's too low, then you can also backfill that with some healthy fats. An example of what this can look like, and this is how I was eating in phase 1, I would have 2 scoops of whey protein for breakfast, 2 scoops of whey protein for lunch, and then I would have a big dinner. So what I would have would be a pound of bison, so I would get my protein and also dietary fats, and then sometimes I would throw in 2 eggs, and then I would mix up the type of veggies I want to have. So I might have kale, I might have spinach, I might have Brussels sprouts, and I would also throw in a multivitamin. And for my specific situation, because I do get blood tests, I know I'm anemic and low on vitamin D, so I made sure to also supplement with iron. You don't do this if you're not anemic, but this is why it's important to get your blood test done by your doctor to know what you're deficient in. That way you can get ahead of the game in this deep deficit and make sure you are supplementing appropriately while you're in this fat loss phase. Now that you know what you're going to eat, you want to get your body used to eating at the same times every day. Having a habit, getting into the routine of eating in the same time periods, eating similar-ish type foods are going to make this a lot easier. And for those of you who start to struggle a little bit, maybe you feel you need a little something between meals, what I recommend is having strawberries in between meals. They're very low calorie, so this can work if you want something sweet. And if you are craving something salty, I recommend pickles. Those things help me a lot, because if I was going throughout my day and I felt a little bit of, not even hunger, but I kind of want to eat something, I'd just grab a slice of pickle. It's 5 calories. I felt fine. Or I'd have a strawberry. So you can do that throughout the day. It makes it so much easier to get through the Kickstarter phase. Now, the second thing we have to talk about is resistance training. And this is where a lot of people mess up when they're trying to lose weight fast. So you figure, since I'm going into a fat loss phase, I need to do cardio. So people start jogging, they start sprinting, they start doing burpees, they take a Zumba class, and that's all they do. Now, this will help you lose weight, but it's not going to change your shape too much. So like if you look kind of like a blob with no detail, you'll just end up looking like a smaller blob with no detail, rather than toned or lean, however it is you want to look with those improvements. What we want to do to make sure you actually look great at the end of this 90 days is to preserve your muscle. And if you're a newbie, you might even be able to build some during this process. So to make sure that your exercises are of high quality, the thing you need to focus on is make sure you are taking your sets to failure. That's very important, and you want to try to see if you can do a little bit more the following workout. So, for example, if you want to get really good arms, right? And let's say you're using a 20-pound dumbbell. You want to make sure you do not stop that set until you physically cannot lift another one. This is the type of quality you want to strive for in this fat loss phase, because by pushing yourself hard, it's going to tell your body that it has to keep your muscle. If you start to half-ass your training, then your body's not going to hold on to your muscle. You're not going to have any kind of tone or definition at the end of this process. Remember, quality matters more than quantity. And quality is so important that there's going to be some exercises where it'll actually make more sense for you to do less sets instead of more. Now, something that happens pretty commonly when you're losing weight is that your recovery is going to come down a lot because there's less energy inside the body. So what this means is, if you were doing, let's say, 9 total sets a week of bench press or of squats, now that you're in this deficit, you might only be able to recover from 6. So if you were doing 3 sets a day, maybe you cut them to 2 or you cut them to 1. But just make sure that what you do have left, you are training hard to get the most out of it. And that'll be your first 4 to 6 weeks. Now, I do have a caveat to all of this. If you notice that during this Kickstarter phase, let's say you completely lose your sex drive, you're having really low energy, you're starting to feel terrible, like there's signs of hormonal things a little off, then I want you to stop the Kickstarter phase. Extreme fat loss is not for you at this time period. You want to take a more modest approach to get there. Now we need to talk about cardio. So if you remember at the beginning, I was telling you that you could shoot for a 1,000 to 1,500 calorie deficit, but I recommended only creating a 1,000 calorie deficit from your food. That extra 500, if you want to go for a 1,500 calorie deficit, is going to come from your cardio. Now, the type of cardio I recommend you do is low intensity. I like walking. Now, the reason why low intensity is preferable to moderate to high is, for one, if you do moderate to higher intensity cardio, it can and highly likely will interfere with your recovery, so you're not going to be able to train as hard with your resistance training, which is more important for how you're going to look overall. A second reason is hunger. When most people do higher intensity cardio, that also comes with an increase in hunger. But lower intensity can actually have the opposite effect, and it can actually help blunt some of those experiences of hunger, which you're going to need, especially in the Kickstarter phase of this program. So what I recommend you do is aim for a minimum of 10,000 steps, and then you increase it so that you are at that 500 calorie burn mark. Once that's done, we're now going to shift gears and go to the sustainable progress phase of the program. Now, what we're going to do is adjust our extreme calorie deficit. So before, it was a 1,000 to 1,500 calorie deficit target. What you're going to do now is figure out what your body weight is, and then you're going to aim to lose 1% of that per week. So before, you might have been losing 4 to 5 pounds a week. If you're a 200-pound person, now you're going to be aiming to lose 2 pounds per week. And here's the beautiful thing about making this adjustment. In phase one, we were able to go more aggressive because you were at a higher body fat level. And what often happens is that, especially if you bulked up, your body wants to let go of that extra fat, which means hunger hormones are not going to be kicking you in the tail. Not to mention, if there's more body fat on you, then, I don't know how to talk, more body fat on you, you will also have more energy to use for your training. So it allows us to get into a deeper deficit. And with those extra calories, and this is where a lot of people mess up, you want to make sure you're choosing the right foods. So do not choose junk for your extra calories. You are likely to binge if you do that. So what you're going to do instead is you're going to choose foods that are high in fiber, foods also high in overall vitamins and nutrients, and foods that are high in healthy fats. So beforehand, if you were just having protein shakes, some meat, and let's say some spinach, now you can add oatmeal, or you can add sweet potato, or you can add avocado to it, or protein pancakes or protein waffles, making this a lot more sustainable after that more extreme fat loss phase. And I know there's people out there that believe this is inherently bad, going so extreme. But what I'll say to that is, what do you think happens when you get bariatric surgery? You are in an extreme deficit, and that's for life once you've gotten the surgery done. Or what do you think happens when people get on a semaglutide like Ozempic or Mounjaro? Their deficits are extreme, and many people are going to stay on these drugs for life. What I'm offering is a way to do this in a quick time period to help you reach your goal relatively quickly, but then we come out of that deficit. Okay, so now that you have your more sustainable calorie deficit figured out, you're going to continue eating that amount for the remainder of your journey. Only making adjustments when you hit plateaus, and you can adjust by either dropping your calories a little or by increasing the amount of low intensity cardio that you're doing week by week. Now, there are some extra things you want to do along the way to make sure you're successful. First thing, stay hydrated. You have to be getting enough fluid. You also want to make sure to be getting good sleep. Sleep is extremely important. Your recovery is going to be a bit handicapped being in this deficit, and it's sleep that helps recover our body. So you want to aim to get a minimum of 7 hours, and it has to be restful. So for those of you who like to have a little alcohol or maybe smoke a little something before bed, don't do that. That's going to put you in a sedated state rather than a restful one when you go through the different sleep cycles. And we know that if you don't sleep well while losing weight, more of the weight you lose is going to come from muscle rather than body fat. So you want to make sure you're sleeping good. You also want to make sure to keep your stress low. Last thing, you have to track progress. So you want to be tracking your lifts, So you want to track how much weight you're using, how many reps and sets that you've done, and your aim is to try to keep your performance as close to where it started as possible. That's going to be your goal. You also want to track your actual body. So I recommend you take pictures of yourself once a week, do it in the same pose, be in good lighting, and I recommend you track your weight every day. The only caveat to this is if you're a woman, when you're going through your cycle, expect your weight to go up some. So just be used to that. So if you see an increase in weight during your period, that doesn't mean you messed this up. That's going to be normal. Once you're done with that, you will then see the weight loss adjust to what it should be on the scale. And that's it. Follow this 90-day transformation. If you're in one of the two categories I've talked about, either you were somebody who bulked up purposely and now you're losing fat, or if you need to look good on a specific day that matters a lot to you. Follow this plan, you'll be well on your way to reach your goal. Now, if you found this helpful, let me know in the comments section. Subscribe if you like it. If you disagree with me, also let me know in the comment sections. I will happily have a friendly debate with you. All right, y'all, take care.